Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA. Ocala!
Diamonds in the sunset, now your time has come.
All right, 26 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're doing well this morning. How many times have you been praying and wanting and hoping and waiting for an answer, and maybe you're driven down the road and all of a sudden there'll be like a bumper sticker in front of you and it's like 3 or 4 words and it's speaking to you. It's like, whoa. And you say, is that actually from God? Is that actually a message from God? Mm-hmm. I remember one moment in my life, I suppose, when the 2 words were be patient. Be patient. So in other words, there's no answer, but just hang in there. We're gonna make things happen for you. Kellie Lane is on the phone, and she has written a wonderful, very insightful little book that I love. It is called When God is Silent. And Kellie is a family nurse practitioner, a motivational speaker, which is not a surprise. She's involved in community outreach and a developer of some youth programs. And the subtitle to When God is Silent is, What Do You Do When You've Prayed and Prayed and There Seems to Be No Answer? Kellie Lane, thank you for being on the air, and thank you, of course, for writing this book. Good morning, Kellie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And where are you right now?
Where am I?
Yeah.
I am in Jackson, Mississippi.
In Mississippi. All right. All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being on the air with us. Did you write the book because you weren't getting an answer to a prayer?
Yes, that is exactly the reason for writing the book. I was going through a very difficult time, very similar to the situation that you just described, and I really felt, that God was not speaking, and I was becoming weary in my waiting, and that's what prompted me to write the book.
So what is your answer to that question? I'm guessing it's different for everybody.
Yes, it is different for everybody, but essentially it's the same, and that is to be patient, to really embrace your process, and to really make an effort to try to figure out what is your reason for waiting, because if God does not answer or is not answering in the time that you feel that he should, there is a reason for the wait.
Have you ever heard or spoken to anybody that it was asking for communication from somebody who's passed on? I ask this specifically because I've had this conversation with people who've lost a loved one and say, I've been praying and praying and praying for God to at least show me in a dream that they're okay. Have you ever had that? That's a tough one, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, but really I appreciate that because I just lost my mom. The book is actually dedicated to her, and my mom just passed away in November. And I have prayed that prayer because, your relationship with God is different for each individual. And you do want to know that that person is okay. And I have prayed that prayer before, and then I lost a best friend years ago, and it took a little time, but they did, show up in a dream. And, may not have said much, but even just the very presence of seeing that person and knowing that they are well will give you that peace that you need.
Right. It is interesting. One of the things I was thinking about as we were preparing for your appearance on our show today, was this, that as I look back on my life, I suppose there are some things I prayed for that I never did see come to fruition, and I don't know that I ever got an answer. But then, all's well that ends well, and I'm looking back on it now going, you know what, maybe I got an answer and didn't realize it. Right?
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to comment on, is that, and that's what the book speaks on, is that God answers every prayer. He promises that in his word, but can we recognize the answer? Sometimes it doesn't appear in the way that we feel that it should, but he answers.
You bring out that there is a definite difference between want and need in your book.
Ah, yes.
Yes, and sometimes, even in writing the book, we become confused in that. Sometimes what I want is actually not what I need, and God knows what's best for each of us, and he will in turn give us the very things that we need. And even our desires as well, but sometimes we're praying for things that are just simply not good for us, and we really don't understand at the time, but then like you were stating, it comes back like, oh, now I see why it didn't go the way I actually thought that it should go.
Right. Mm-hmm. The other day we had this interesting thing that we were reading on the air, and it was how frequently things happen in the planet. And I can't remember if it was every 2 seconds or every 3 seconds. Let's just say it this way, so that I can get to the point. Every 2 seconds, there's an eagle catching a fish out of the water somewhere on Earth. An eagle just caught a fish. Somewhere on the Earth, an eagle just caught a fish. Every 2 seconds you could say it and you would be telling the truth. And what that has to do with what we're talking about here is the fact that that God provides to every little creature, and that doesn't leave us out. I know there's a part in the Bible about this, and I'm never good at quoting the Bible, but it's like the flowers are dressed. So what are you worried about? Remember that thing? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That today's troubles are sufficient. Don't worry about tomorrow. He's going to take care of us.
Yeah.
And, that's comforting to know that, even if it doesn't seem today as if it's going to work out, God promises to take care of us as His children.
Yeah, yeah.
How do we keep from being impatient?
That is a very difficult question because it's a little different for everyone. It's like, what do I do while I'm waiting? When you really, really believe in God for something and it seems as if nothing is happening, even if, let's say, you're uncomfortable on your job and you believe in God for another opportunity, what do I do every day in the process while I report to work and I'm miserable? And my answer would be, to really just hold on to the hope and the faith that God is going to change your situation and that He has the perfect timing, and there's always comfort in His Word. And in the back of the book, as you guys notice, there are scriptures to support that He answers prayer. And I always recommend people, as I speak with them, to just pray the Word back to God because He has to honor His Word, which is why I put several scriptures in the back of the book to remind us of God's promises.
And when you speak about God, just because one person is of one religion doesn't mean God doesn't exist to a person of a different religion, even though he may call him different and not say God.
Yes, exactly. This book can really help motivate, encourage, and inspire anyone. What I may choose to call my God may be different from you, but the premise remains there is a superior, a supreme being, and whatever your belief is perfectly acceptable. There is a God who answers our prayers.
I truly believe what you're saying, and I know that some people who don't believe in God or who question God often question that statement. There was a marquee I saw on one of those changeable signs outside of a church, and the marquee said, "God feeds even the tiniest sparrow, but He does not bring food to the nest." Which means that we have to go out and do something. I'm in Florida right now. Let's say I wanted to be in California, and I sat in my room every day praying to be in California. I'm not going to get there. I got to get out and walk, don't I?
Exactly.
Yes, that is a very
or
good point.
Get a plane.
Look, I don't know, but in other words,
Scotty.
faith without works. Yeah, we have to have the works to honor whatever we're believing our supreme being for. Nothing great will fall in your lap. You have to get up and do, and that's what the book encourages every reader to do, is to do something, to train, to become a better person, God's champion in your process of waiting.
So who is Kellie Lane? Are you first and foremost a nurse? Are you first and foremost an author? Where, if I was to look into the part of your heart that's labeled passions, what are your passions that are in your heart?
My passion is to serve and encourage other people. And a year ago, I may would have answered this question in the reverse and said that I'm a nurse practitioner, a nurse first and then an author. But now I would probably reverse that, and just I am an author. But even in my nursing, even in my working out, my fitness, everything revolves around encouraging other people to see beyond where they are right now and to desire more and to encourage and to teach that person how to get to that next place.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes, if I were to pretend to be God just for a second,
okay.
and I know everybody's heart and I know everybody's needs, and let's say, Kellie, you're praying that you can become a nurse. Mm-hmm. And for one reason or another, you're not able to go to school to become a nurse. Well, maybe as God, I could see that what you really want is to help people. So maybe God's answer to your question, your request to be a nurse, would be to write a book as a way to reach people.
Yes, and that is such an excellent point. I am actually about 5 weeks shy of my doctoral degree in nursing. And, of course, it's like a major accomplishment. And so everyone is like, wow, Kelly, what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm going to encourage the people of God. I'm going to write. I'm going to speak. I'm going to motivate. And they're like, you're not going to continue in nursing? I'm like, probably not, but it's still nursing. It's just I'm nursing the world now. So,
It is still nursing, yeah.
Yeah. And, I'm just, now that God has just broadened my scope and that no longer am I just taking care of, an assigned panel of patients every day, but He has entrusted me with something greater to encourage and to bless on a larger scale.
And what's wonderful about your book is that you're drawing on your own personal experiences and your thoughts and feelings, and that's what endears people to your book, because a person doesn't like to read about somebody trying to fix something in their life unless they've gone through it themselves.
Yes. And the writing of the book, it's a cute, pretty little shiny book. It's full of wisdom, but I really went through a lot of pain in writing the book. And, when you open the book and it says why I wrote this book, I felt that it was important to place that in there. And I even speak that as I was writing and encouraging, there were many times when I wanted to give up and that I was crying, frustrated, no sleep, but it was a process that I had to embrace. And for other people to be able to relate, you have to go through what you're trying to help others come out of. And so that was the reason for my suffering.
Oh, wow. That's pretty profound. The book is called When God is Silent. It's written by our guest, Kellie Lane. The subtitle, What do you do when you've prayed and there seems to be no answer? There's a joke that is told that just came to mind. The joke is there's a guy in his house and there's a flood. And the water is getting higher and higher and higher, and it's now about 3 feet deep in his living room, and he's praying for God to please come rescue him. And here at the door, there's a guy in a rowboat, and he says, "Come on, we can go." He says, "No, I'll be fine." Now the water rises to the point where he has no choice but to be on the second floor of the house, right? And here comes a bigger boat, and he says, "Come on, let me rescue you." He says, No, God's going to take care of me. I'm praying." And then he gets to the roof, and and a helicopter comes to help him out. And he goes, no, go ahead. I'm praying to God to help me. And then the water rises to the point where he drowns and he dies. Mm-hmm. And he's in heaven, and he says to God, "I prayed and prayed and prayed. How come you didn't help me?" He said, "I sent you a rowboat. I sent you a big boat. I sent you a helicopter. I did answer your prayer."
Yeah.
I mean, maybe sometimes God isn't silent, but we just don't recognize His answer.
Yes, and that is why the last chapter is called Alternate Ending. What happens when the story of your life does not play out the way you scripted it? Do you accept God's answer, knowing that it is best? We have to realize that His answer is best, just like with your story. God answered. Just because He didn't answer the way the guy that was praying expected Him to does not mean that He did not answer.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, that's an awesome story.
How many of us have gone through this? You're interested in somebody in school, a girl or a guy. You're interested in a romance, and you're praying for Susie. You're saying, "Dear God, please, let Susie say yes. Let Susie say yes," right? Yes. And then Susie says no. So what is the matter? And meanwhile, Karen is tapping you on the shoulder. "Hello, I'm over here,"
yes.
right?
Yes.
I mean, don't we do this all the time? We think we want something, and then we're ignoring something else?
Yes. And the thing that we're most often ignoring is the best thing for us.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. That is a very good point.
And by the way, Susie, if you're out there, and Karen, if you're out there, I wasn't talking about either of you. I wasn't talking about either one of you.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
Since you are a developer of youth programs as well as community outreach, how do you get the people to trust you when you do develop a program for the youth? Because youth always has, as they should have, other ideas and other ways of solving problems.
Well, one very good strategy is to accept input. How do you think this should be? People feel valued when you actually ask how they think something should go, and not just assume that you have all the answers, because we draw on each other. No one has all of the solutions. And another way to relate to the youth is credibility. Can they trust you? When I go out and I speak to schools and things like that, I don't dress up. I dress down, tennis shoes, khakis. I don't want to present myself, more higher than I should. I want to be able to sit down and talk. I need people to want to relate and talk to me. So that's very important to get on that level so that people can understand you and really trust you enough to tell you how they really feel and how they think things should really go.
Do you know what's confusing to me, and maybe you can share your thoughts on this. When you drive past somebody who is homeless, and you've seen them many, many times, and this happened, I guess, in every town. What town? Are you in a big town, a small town?
Well, Jackson, Mississippi.
Jackson?
It's our capital, but it's not Atlanta or Miami or town.
but Ocala is a small town where we are, and there's a couple of homeless people that I see regularly in the same kind of vicinity, and I often wonder. I mean, what is it? Is God not answering their prayer? Is this what he wants for them? It is one of those things that perplexes me. I did read one thing one time, and I don't know if this is true, but that God actually puts those people here for us so that we understand something about life.
That's a really good point, and that is a very good point. And the first thing that came to my mind was, the possibility that we entertain angels unaware. You don't know who you're bumping into, and we have to be careful not to judge people based on what they look like. That question is easily 3 or 4-fold, but the first thing that came to mind was that it could possibly be an angel. The second thing could be, I don't believe that God has ordained for anyone to be homeless. We make choices, and that could possibly be a consequence of our choice. And the 3 and 4-fold part is that people often say, should I even give this person something? Because what if they take my money and do this or do that? But what they do with the money, when you feel that impressed to give, really does not matter. The fact that you gave is what matters to you, and that is what will yield you a blessing.
Yeah, you're a smart lady, yeah. So Kellie, did you ever think about going into the ministry?
I didn't think about it, but I know that is the direction that I'm going.
I mean,
it's not something that I wanted to do, but God, I believe He's picked me out.
Actually, in by definition, you are in a ministry. So,
yeah.
I didn't mean to say you're not, but I guess I meant with an established congregation, etc.
I cannot tell you how many people have spoken that to me. You're going to have this really large church. And I used to just run and hide under a rock every time somebody would say that. And now I'm like, whatever you have for me is fine with me. And that is an attitude that, we all should adopt, is that I'm done trying to figure things out. I just yield my life to a superior power that knows all and sees all and knows what's best for me.
I just turned the book over, and I'm looking at a picture of you. If you're my pastor, I'm in the front row.
Thank you.
There's all of this. It seems to be that there is discourse between different churches, not just because of their religion, but because of the churches within the same religion. How do you get everybody to just work together for the common cause?
Lord, if we can figure that out, no silos, it's so, and that's one of the things I was praying about last night. I said, Lord, let's take down the boundaries of various religions and let's just come together as a people and really do this thing for the world. Just get on one accord and just decide to become a better person altogether, a better group of people, and not say, well, because you're not this way and you're not that way, then I'm not going to deal with you, because that was not the message that is delivered throughout the Bible. We're supposed to accept everybody, and that is my passion and my mission, that regardless of what you believe or who you are or where you come from or how much money you have or don't have, that I accept you as who you are. And if we adapt that mentality, then I believe together, collectively, we can really make changes for the world.
And if you look at life as a job, and God is your boss, and He has a job for you, I mean, you do whatever the task is at hand, and you might ask for a better position, same as you would your boss. You might say, "Can I be promoted to something else?" And I think in a way that's how we can be comfortable or content with our place today. Not to say that tomorrow we'll still be here. Right. Maybe tomorrow we'll be in a different place. Mm-hmm. I think the book, by the way, and I'm not trying to be psychic or anything, but Kellie, I think your book is going to open a lot of doors for you.
Thank you.
Possibly even the door that leads to an actual not concrete church, but you know what I mean, a building. Mm-hmm. Someplace.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll be in the front row.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll be looking for you.
We always think about prayer. Prayer is a very personal thing. We like to be, each person likes to be silent when they pray.
Yeah.
Do we pray? Is there a right way to pray?
I don't believe there is. I believe that your relationship with God is however your relationship is with God, and there is no right or wrong way to have that relationship. Just like your relationship with a sibling or a spouse or a mate, significant other, everyone is no cookie cutter pattern here. It's individualized, and as long as you have that peace within you that you are doing the work of your Father and that He hears you and understands you, then you are doing things. We all have areas that we should improve on, but there's no, you need to stand up and pray. You can't kneel. Put your hand. God is not into all of that. What He wants is fellowship and communion with His children.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I took my mom to church for the last 4 years of her life. And the church that she went to began this way. You would ask for forgiveness for your sins silently. It was a Lutheran church, okay?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So everybody, silently confessed whatever sin they had, and then they asked for forgiveness silently, and then they went on with the rest of the service. About 3/4 of the way through the service, they're asking for prayers, and they say, please say your prayers out loud. So all through the church, one at a time, people saying, please heal Johnny, please make sure Nancy gets the job she's hoping for, and all these people saying their prayers out loud. I was saying, no, wait a minute. In the beginning of the thing, you say it silently. Down 3/4 of the way, we got to say it out loud. So I always felt, I'm going to say my requests. I feel funny, like saying out loud, please take care of my grandmother, whatever. So I just keep it silent. And what you're supposed to say, well, what's the thing in the beginning? In the beginning of the hour, you remember?
That's right.
Remember, we're silently asking for forgiveness. So one or the other. Either we all have to confess our sins in the beginning, which would be so entertaining.
That would be a lot more entertaining.
I think it would be entertaining at the beginning of the hour if I were to say, dear God, forgive me. I looked at Kellie Lane in a lustful way. I shouldn't have done this.
The silent part is for the things that we really don't want anybody else to know about.
But I'm being silly, I know. But here's the thought that I guess is the serious way to get back on track, is that I think some of our prayers need to be thank you prayers, don't you? I mean,
Yes.
Simple as that. Just you don't have any answer. I mean, you don't want any answer. You're just basically saying, thank you. This is a wonderful day today.
Yes, and God, even if you're a parent and you have a child, and they always are saying, Daddy, thank you. You're just the best daddy in the world. Do you not think that you would be more inclined to do for that child who is constantly praising you, regardless of whether you're saying, clean your room, do this, do that, and they say, Daddy, you're just great. I just love you. You are just the best father. If we would do that for our natural children, what more would our Father do for us?
Oh, wonderfully said. Yeah, you are going to be a pastor. You are.
Thank you.
Does the word pastor apply to women? Same word, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know a pastor.
Yeah,
Duh, of course I do.
I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say she's a delight to talk to. I didn't mean to stop you.
Thank you.
When you're bringing up your children, you had brought up the verbiage of children. How do you introduce them to the faith that you're growing up with, and then how do you deal with it if all of a sudden they have some friends and they want to go over to their side of the world?
Yeah, the Bible teaches that as long as you train your child up in the way they should go, they won't depart from that. And so at some point, my children will leave the nest, and I trust God in my prayers enough to know that they will do the right thing eventually. Even if initially, they may go astray, eventually they will come back to the truth because I am raising them in the truth. My husband and I are raising the children up in the truth.
The book is called When God is Silent. Kellie Lane is the author of this very profound and thoughtful book, and it'll cause you to pause and think and perhaps give you a little more patience and understanding, and maybe even see that the answer was there all along.
Yes.
It's kind of like finding out that the love was always there. It's kind of like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz.
Uh-huh.
Somebody should have told her. In the very beginning, it's the shoes? Why didn't you tell me in the beginning?
Right.
We could have forgotten all this stuff with the lion and the scarecrow.
Right.
I could have avoided those stupid, scary monkeys that fly.
Yes, all of that. Yes, all around the world.
But
the
isn't
answer was already there?
Isn't that kind of like maybe a lesson for us too? That we don't recognize what we have.
Yes,
You know,
that's exactly right.
we have to put up with those flying monkeys.
And the life is never easy. I mean, so many people that'll be their main complaint about life. They'll start conversations with a person like, if only. And it's not if only. You have to really embrace what you have and just go forward with your own desires. You can't say if only and then be a spectator.
Yes, exactly. You have to get in the game of life and play to win.
So what's next for you? What are you doing next?
Well, I'm going to, with the help of people like you, we're getting this message out. There are other books to come. 2 more are already in publication. The next one is Chosen, Know Your Kingdom Assignment, which will help point you in the right direction of why you are here in the first place on Earth. And then I'm going to drift off into relationships with a book called Internal Chaos, Battles of the Heart. Both are already complete, just waiting on a strategic release date.
Kellie, Lane, thank you for being with us. I just want to add one thing. When in the course of my two parents passing, I had a lot of experience with the folks over at hospice, and they are nurses, and they're also profoundly spiritual and or religious. I don't know which word is appropriate for them, but you remind me of them. And so I think it's the comfort that they were able to provide in a very divine way. I mean to make it out to be more than it really is, but there was something about them, and that's there in you as well. Thank you for being on the air with us. Fun interview. I have a copy of the book. It's called When God is Silent. If you want it, call me. The copy I have is yours. The rest of us have to go buy it. Kellie, do you have a website?
I do. It's KellieLane.org, KellieIE.org, and also it's on Amazon.com and other fine bookstores as well.
Okay, KellieLane.org, and Robin makes it easy for our listeners. Your website is already on the guest list, so for the listeners who want to look it up, just go to the WOCA.com site, and you'll find Kellie's name and the website. Thank you, Kellie. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
And if you open up a church around here, you'll have you'll have at least one.
I'll find you.
You'll have at least one radio host showing up.
Awesome. Thank you.
And tell your husband I'm absolutely harmless. I'm just.
Yeah, I'm sure he's listening. He's not worried.
No, I'm sure he's not worried. I'm sure. Kellie, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a little break and we'll be right back.
This is a public notice. Local residents can now save thousands of dollars on their next car, truck, or SUV. It's not a tent sale, because no tent is big enough to